Zhang Bojeng of China leads in the all-around after Olympic champion Hashimoto falters on highbar. And Zou Jingyuan of China finishes in top spot on 2 different events after a great day of qualifications. Welcome to the Neutral Deduction Podcast, a podcast all about men's gymnastics. I'm Gabe Sanchez, and I'm joined by Chris and Marsh. We are guest hosting the podcast while your normal host Kensley is in Paris working with NBC. This is part 2 of episode 42, where we will be recapping individual results from the men's qualification at the 2024 Paris Olympic Games.
This is the Neutral Deductions Podcast, men's gymnastic news, coverage, and analysis. Hosted by Kensley Beal.
Onto the all-around competition. So 24 athletes qualify into the all-around finals with, again, the caveat that only 2 athletes per country can qualify. So the top qualifier, as we mentioned, Zhang Bojeng from China, 88.597. And then followed by the Hirooka Shinosuke of Japan, 86.865. And then Hashimoto Daiki, the reigning Olympic champion, 85.064. The rest of the top 10 is Zou Jingyuan of China, Jake Jarman of Great Britain, Joe Fraser, also of the British team, Vernayev of Ukraine, Abedini of Italy, Carlos Yulo of the Philippines, and Frederick Richard of the US. So there were a few athletes who did not make the all-around. Who are those athletes kind of we expected but didn't perform?
First and foremost, Brody Malone, he had a rough day.
So yes, Brody did not qualify to the all-around. One question that we've been getting is, let's say for whatever reason, Richard or Judah was to withdraw from the all-around competition. Would Brody Malone then be able to compete?
No, that's not quite how that works. Not like the U.S. as a country retains 2 spots in the final. Those athletes themselves qualify by being in the top 24. So it would be possible if Brody Malone was, 25th, the first athlete out. And that is not the case. He actually scored a 79 and some change, which is so low that he is not the first athlete out. So we're one of the U.S. athletes to withdraw from the competition. It'll just be filled by probably a fifth athlete.
Yeah, so it would probably either go to Noe Seifert of Switzerland or Caselli of Italy if either of their country members withdrew, or OL Plata of Spain would also get that. So unfortunately, Brody is completely out of that competition, and there's no Hail Mary football pass that would be able to get him in. I think some other qualifiers to the all-around, some other gymnasts who we expected to maybe play into the all-around didn't quite make it. So 2 Spanish athletes I think were considered to be in the running were OL Plata, like we mentioned, and Nestor Abad. Neither of them were able to get up in a high enough score. I think another person that came as a surprise was Marius Grigorgio of Cyprus. Again, he's the reigning European all-around champ, so a little bit surprising that he wasn't able to put it together. And then just a note, Lucas Dauser of Germany, also someone who we've seen in world all-around finals before. He did not compete the all-around. So again, we knew he was injured coming into this competition, so kind of not a surprise that he kind of focused on his main events. Moving on to the floor exercise, we have Jake Jarman of Great Britain qualifying in first with a 14.966, really impressive for him. Followed by Carlos Yulo of the Philippines with a 14.766, and then finally Raiderle Zapata of Spain with a 14.6. Other qualifiers were Koftun of Ukraine, Whitehouse of Britain, Zhang from China, Dolgopiat of Israel, and Karimi of Kazakhstan. Just a note, Dolgopiat is the Tokyo Olympic champ, so he once again qualified and will be able to have a chance to defend his Olympic gold. One thing I was really impressed about was the difficulty scores from the British athletes. Do you know what those scores were?
6'5", 6'5", 6'6", right?
Yeah, insane, right?
That's the hardest floor squat in the world. But No question.
It'll be a really exciting, again, team final, seeing Team Great Britain in the team final, but then also their individuals in the floor individual event. 4-4, we already mentioned this. Emery Donnelly was someone who we kind of expected. He didn't qualify. And then another athlete who was on the outside was 21 world floor champion Bartolini of Italy. He had this really large error on his third pass, and he just didn't have enough difficulty to make up for that. So disappointing for those two, but the floor final should be great. So moving on to pommel horse, talk us through the results from that.
All right. So as I mentioned earlier, Stephen led almost all day. At least Glenikin got his horse and scored 8.2. Well, he won the tiebreaker by 1/10 in execution. So your first qualifier is Reese McClanahan of Iowa. Second place, Stephen Hirose of the USA. And then third, two-time and reigning Olympian Max Whitlock, Sugino Takaki of Japan, Oleg Branayev of Ukraine. I always forget you so good at horse. Like, it's great with a 15 out of 3 like that was we didn't just sneak in there. We've also got Kurbanov of Kazakhstan, Wong of Korea, Laurent Demung from the Netherlands. So, I mean, the lowest score to get in was a 14.76 VIX. The highest was a 15.2. So that was 8 athletes all swimming for podium within 5/10 of each other. It is going to be a great final.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really exciting. Again, I think the big storyline from that will be Max Whitlock. Will he be able to become the very first 3-time Olympic pommel horse champion? We'll have to see. But unfortunately, there were some athletes who we expected to qualify into that final and did not. I think one of the crowd favorites that ended up not making it was Jordan's Ahmad Abu Al-Soud. Again, he's 2-time world medalist. Unfortunately, he fell on his pommel series. He just looked like his balance was off and his hand slipped. So really unfortunate. And then also a little bit surprising that no Chinese athlete made it. As we mentioned, China as a team was having a great day. They have really clean technique, really good form on that event. But surprisingly, just the field is that deep that we won't see any Chinese gymnasts. Next event we wanted to go over was still rings. So still rings was a little bit as expected and not as expected. So the first place qualifier was Zou Jingyuan of China, 15.3, just edging out the reigning Olympic champion of Liu Yang with a 15.222. And then the hometown boy, Semirat Said of France, the only French gymnast in the competition, qualified into third with a 14.966. Someone that surprised all of us was Belgium's Glenn Kuhl with a 49, finishing in 4th place. He is someone who was not on my radar. He showed up to this competition with a 6.3 difficulty, so definitely enough to make it into this final, and just had a really clean routine. I was kind of looking back on his results. He's only made one World Cup rings final his senior competitive career, which is kind of crazy. Just someone not on the radar shows up and delivers. Finishing off the qualifiers is Adem Asil of Turkey, Lefterius Petrunius of Greece, Von Datien of Armenia, and Harry Hepworth of Great Britain. One thing that a lot of people were looking for was Francis Semirat Syed, who submitted a original skill to be performed at this competition. So the skill that he submitted would be a strength skill that takes him from a back lever through to Maltese, through to straight plunge, all the way to handstand, and not stopping in any of those positions, but just going through that motion. He submitted as an original skill. He did not compete it in qualification. So it'll be really interesting to see if he ends up throwing that unique skill in finals, because with the routine that he did in qualification was scored well. He would have placed third right now. So I don't know if he's going to risk it to try to throw his original skill.
yeah, that's a tough spot to be in because he's on podium, air quotes right now. And if they decide they're going to accept the skill but butcher it, that could be very well what knocks them off. You got to decide what's more important, Olympic gold or the pencil, Olympic medal, or your name in the code forever, which is an insane would you rather. I'm both jealous and, relieved that I don't have to make that choice. But yeah, that's just such a crazy skill. I've tried the multi-stack lever skill. I swear I don't have whatever thrown off the post off. So awesome. Yeah, so there were two athletes that you expected to see in the final that we're not going to. One of those is Ibrahim Kolak of Turkey. We just seem to have too much swing, although his routine, his composition's great. He has a really nice looking team that he performs well, but it just happened to pick up some swing this time around, and that was the difference. Similarly, Igor Radivov of Ukraine is one who's notable for being in so many ring finals, and he won't be this time, just due to execution was.
Neutral Deductions recently launched this year and is entirely funded by listener contributions. If you'd like to support the show and help promote men's gymnastics, kindly consider making a donation through the PayPal link provided in the show note. All donations are greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Next event, vault. And if I had to say, I would say this was probably the hardest event to get into. I think tons of guys showed up with tons of difficulty and were nailing their vaults left and right. The top qualifier is Ukraine's Nazar Chaperny, who was a bronze medalist last year at Worlds. He got a 14.833, followed by Great Britain's Harry Hepworth with a 14.766. And then this is a little bit surprising. Ariel Banovic of Croatia finishing third with a 14.766. He was one of those athletes who qualified via the World Cup circuit, qualified on floor, but he's a floor vault guy, so not super surprising to see him competitive, but a little bit surprising to see him so high up in the ranking. The other qualifiers include Radivov of Ukraine, Jarman of Great Britain, Yulo of the Philippines, Arthur Dafian of Armenia, and Mahadi of Iran. Some really impressive routines from those guys. Any thoughts on the qualifiers?
Yeah, no, there were some close calls on vault. I wasn't sure Jake Jarman was going to be in the final for a while because he took 2, 3, maybe steps on his Dragolescu. And then Arthur Dafian had few vaults, by, being known for just how phenomenal he is, that were a little lower than he normally does some excellent rating. So I was afraid he wasn't going to make it. And then Lafati from Iran, he is phenomenal. Yurchenko double cut, just gorgeous. And that second vault can be inconsistent, but he did pull through. So vault's going to be crazy. I mean, it's always a battle of who sticks, but the vaults seem to be getting bigger and the sticks seem to be getting more frequent now.
Yeah. We should expect to see someone stick these crazy big vaults, and it's going to be exciting. Some notable non-qualifiers were, again, Asher Hong in that first reserve position. He had 2 good vaults. Again, he stepped out of bounds, and I think that's what cost him a spot in this final.
Just as a small tangent, Asher Hong landed his Risei Wong very well, but it was scored at 14.7. Historically, for a vault that he would have done that well, he would have scored higher. So this is a course reminiscent of the U.S. Championships where he, landed a Risei Wong very well, and it wasn't scored very well. And people were like, oh, maybe down the pipeline a demon that's going to be judged, so that's what they were doing here. And it's not even to comment on that, but if this is how they're going to be judging this fall, because he does it just about as well as it can be done, and anyone does in the world, in my opinion. It's going to be a shame because that vault's going to be judged out of existence. It happens all the time. So many skills are just given this judging criteria that isn't really useful for the athletes to need. And as such, they stop doing it. For example, this was his first time putting the triple full on vault, a little bit hard, and he landed it very well. And so it wasn't scored the highest, but this was the first go round. So by Asher right now, I'm thinking, my triple full, which is less scary and dangerous is going to score just about as well as my Rise Wong. Then why would I not just switch? And there will be a shame to see that fault here because it is unreal, phenomenal, and it really is pushing the boundaries of what is possible. I'd be sad to see it go.
I agree. It's a really good point, and I think it's one of those things that is really hard when they're evaluating the code of making it like that. But lucky for us, he will be competing that in the team finals, which is the next competition. So we'll at least be able to see it there. Ademasil of Turkey, we mentioned this already, but he had a beautiful pike dragulescu, but he wasn't able to deliver on his second vault, the soup double pike. And then one thing that is a little bit surprising is, well, surprising via the Olympic record, which is this will be the first year since 2008 that a Korean gymnast, either North or South Korean, will not take the gold medal. So for the last 3 Olympics, we have had either a North or South Korean on top of the medal stand. And since no Koreans qualified in this final, we will not see that record repeat. Moving on to parallel bars, kind of what we expected. Can you walk us through the results there?
Yes, so people is what we expected in that Zou Jingyuan is on top and far out in front with a 16.2, nearly a full point ahead of the next closest person, which is Zhang Bojeng of China with a 15.33, and rounding out third place is Zou Jingyuan of Japan with a 15.3. So you needed a 15 to be in this fight. Literally the lowest qualifying score was in fact a 15.0 from Wataru Tanegawa from Japan. Also, the final, we've got Oleg Vernayev, Lucas Dowser, the reigning world champion, and Ilya Kumton, and Ferhat Arikan. All of those scores above a 15.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough for everyone except for Zou Jingyuan, who I think is the best and the most likely candidate to repeat his Olympic title. Again, in parallel bars, in rings, in pommel horse, and floor, all the Olympic champions are returning, and they all have a chance to retain their golds. But I think P-bars is the most likely, as we can see, almost 8/10 higher than the next closest competitor. Zou Jingyuan is just, really one of the best, if not the best, to ever swing on parallel bars. I think there are 2 athletes that showed really good routines in qualifications, but were not able to qualify. I think the top one that most people are thinking of is Joe Frazier from Great Britain, former world champion. Again, he's the first reserve, but just slightly off of the top guys. And then another athlete that I was really impressed with, did not expect to be placed so high, was Christopher Mazuros of Hungary. He had a really clean routine. He has this really tight basket position that lets him do peach elements really well. So really cool routine that he did. He's the second reserve. Should be proud of it.
Neutral Deductions is your exclusive gymnastics news platform focused entirely on men's gymnastics. To show your support, please subscribe to Neutral Deductions' YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram.
Final event is highbar, and highbar is led by the all-around leader Zhang Bojeng of China. He's the only athlete to score over 15.133. Really solid, really strong routine, and we could see a repeat of Tokyo, where the all-around winner also wins highbar. Again, Daiki did not qualify into this event final, and Zhang Bojeng is currently ranked first in the all-around. He's definitely in a position to repeat that trend. The second place is Tai Chao Hung of Chinese Taipei, Taiwan, with a 14.933, and then Seguno Takaki of Japan with a 14.733.
Takaki has an awesome high bar. He has a pagan, which is a very rare skill, like a double fight, the half twist over the bar, catch again. Almost no one does that, very difficult. And then he also does Kovacsing elements that I believe he connects to it, the Kovacs and the Coleman. So very difficult set. He did it very well, clearly. And I'd have to see him do it again in the final.
Yeah, it's great. All of these highbar guys have tons of release moves, and I think it's going to be an exciting final. So the other qualifiers we have is Srbik of Croatia, Sinoska of Japan, Angel Barajas of Colombia, and Suide of China, and Mars Gregorgio of Cyprus. Really going to be a battle between Zhang Bojeng and Tai Chung Hung of Chinese Taipei, but exciting. Some non-qualifiers, we already mentioned Brody Malone, Hashimoto Daiki, both former world champions on the event. They both fell, so unfortunate. And also another former world champion, Arthur Nori Mariano of Brazil, also scored in the 12s. Tough day for them. One routine I want to call out, and I guess maybe he was outside chance, but Belgium's Noah Kuvita, he's known for these really big, really exciting skills to see. And he dismounted with a triple pike dismount on high bar. Really exciting, really cool to see. I think he actually overcooked it and rolled out of it. But again, it was one of those highlights that even though didn't make the event finals, it's still just really cool to see really hard gymnastics at the Olympics.
Yeah, so the turnover from this Olympics, or pardon, from last Olympics to this Olympics could be great because, as mentioned on one of the previous podcasts, every Olympic champion except for the vault champion is returning. And all of those champions made their finals on, of course, the events they won, except for Daichi. So we'll have a new Olympic champion no matter what. But of all the other qualifiers, it looks like on floor, Artem was not in first. He did not qualify first. Neither did Matt Whitlaw. Neither did Liu Yang. Of course, vault's going to be new. High bar's going to be new. And Zou Jingyuan is the only one who is still clinching his top Olympic champion spot, even going into finals. I mean, even for all around, Zhang Bojeng is in first place. So we've got some real potential to shake things up from the last Olympic.
Yeah, so it's going to be exciting to see if those Olympic champions are going to be able to, turn things around, or if we'll have a new athlete crowned. So it will be exciting nonetheless. The only other thing I want to mention from qualifiers is I was really impressed with the teams from Armenia, from Croatia, and from Kazakhstan. While these teams didn't qualify the full amount of athletes, the 5-person teams, they each qualified 2 individuals. And all of the gymnasts from those countries qualified into their event final. So I think that's really impressive for these small programs to not only qualify a gymnast, qualify multiple gymnasts, and then when those gymnasts do get to the games, they're competitive to qualify into those finals. So just another thing to shout out about those teams. So as we mentioned before, the next competition will be the men's team finals, which will take place on July 29th. That will be followed by the all-around finals and then the event final. Christian and I will be back here to break down what happened in the team finals, as well as what happened in the all-around finals. So please check your feed, come back for more detailed men's gymnastics analysis. If you would, can you please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts? It helps others find the true deductions and learn more about men's gymnastics. If you would like to help bring more live men's gymnastics coverage, please consider donating. A massive thanks to all of you who have donated so far this past season. We are entirely listener supported, and at this point, even $10 makes a big difference. The PayPal link is in every show note and at the bottom of every article on thetruedeductions.com. You can donate via PayPal or Stripe. If you have any questions, comments, or insider tips, you can email us at thetruedeductions@gmail.com. That's all for today, but we will be back in your feed after the men's team finals. We'll see you then.